want you to show me how to get to know someone like you, someone like you.
Hey guys, I don't know if you can hear me, but it's like almost midnight and everybody's asleep. But as you can tell from the title, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a story time. I know some people might be upset about what I'm about to tell in this story, but I do want to give like a quick disclaimer. Not all the details may be true because this is just based off of my perception and what I remember from that time period. I mean, I was a child, so I may not remember. And then anything that I do share, I don't want anybody to think like I'm holding any grudges or I feel some type of way or I'm still hoarding any emotions or feelings about it. I pretty much forgave and moved on from it. I'm sharing this because it might shed a little bit of an idea on who I am and where I came from. I do believe that it's important for us to be able to get to where we want to go if we can accept and own where we came from. So yeah, that was like my little disclaimer. The story that I'm going to share with you is that the fact that I was adopted. Um, I was about 5, I believe, when I was woken up out of my sleep and I seen my mother on top of my dad doing CPR. Now, as a child, I didn't know what was going on, and I used to wet the bed, so I didn't wake up because of what was going on outside the bedroom. I was woken up because I wet the bed, and I believe I was wet in the bed because of the fact that I was sexually abused, but I don't think I remember being sexually abused before that because I don't recall any of those events happening. But I was woken up out my sleep, and then I went into the hallway because normally when I wet the bed, I would just go to my parents' room and wake my mom or my dad up and let them know that I wet the bed or just climb in the bed with them. I mean that's basically what kids do. Journey's done that before to me. So yeah. I seen my dad on the floor and my mom trying to administer CPR, and I didn't know what was going on. She told me to go back to my room, and I didn't listen. Then next you know, I see paramedics coming in the house, and they try to, do whatever it is that they were trying to do. And then the next thing I remember was my aunt. Well, we called her aunt, but that was my mom's best friend. My aunt Nancy, I believe she came to the house to sit with me, my sister, and my brother. And when she came, again, I wasn't aware of what was going on. I wasn't familiar with what was happening or anything like that. I still don't think I was fully aware of what was happening or what happened until the day of the funeral. And that's when I realized that my father had died that night. And even as I was growing up and everything, I still wasn't aware of what those events were or what happened in that moment. It wasn't until a couple years ago that I realized that that's what happened. That's what I saw was my father dying. He had a heart attack. From what my mother told me was that he got up to use the bathroom and she heard a bang and she went out and my father was on the floor and he had a heart attack. Um, and that was from what I could remember. Um, Fast forward to about, I want to say, a year or two later. Um, I don't really remember a whole lot in between that time. The only thing I really remember was going to um, the family friend's house and being sexually abused and spending time there because my mom was working as, I believe, as a CNA, and she was going to school at a community college to get her degree. And they were and the people that she would take us to was our babysitter. And between those 2 years, I don't really remember much in between that time. Because as I'm sitting here, I'm trying to remember, and I don't really remember a whole lot after my dad passed away. But I do remember like having vivid dreams of falling off of a bridge and waking up and being afraid and stuff and having bad nightmares. But other than that, I don't remember what escalated after my dad passed away. The next memory I do have is me and my sister with my mom going to a building, and don't remember why we were there or what was going on or anything like that. I do remember my mom crying a lot and trying to explain to these people that she's struggling and needs help. And it was just, I know in that moment it was like it had to be difficult for her to reach out and ask somebody for help, especially strangers, and she's never met these people before. And it was a nice man. He was nice to us. That's all I remember was this nice guy. He was a black guy. He was a huge black guy. And I don't remember his name. But I do remember my mom left, and then me and my sister were there, and they had toys and stuff like that we were playing. And the next thing I remember was my mom's sister, my aunt. She comes to the building and she comes and picks us up. And all she could tell me was that my mom was in the hospital and that we were going to be staying with her for a while. And I mean, it's my aunt. It didn't really faze me or anything like that. My aunt used to babysit me and my sister a lot too when we were small. And I remember, within those 2 years after my dad died, that, we would go to my aunt's house and not my aunt's house, my grandmom's house, because at the time my aunt was staying with my grandmother, and I spent time with my grandmother, and my uncles, and my aunt, and spend time with my cousins. And so I was about 7 or whatever at the time, and we went to go stay with my aunt at my grandmother's house. I remember from 7 till past that, we stayed living with my grandmother for a while. Well, we was back and forth with my grandmother and my aunt's boyfriend at the time. We used to call him Uncle Pappy, and he was like basically your Mr. Rogers. he was a nice older man, and he was real cool. And his house, like, I don't know, his house was like very comforting, if that makes sense. Like, it's like going to your like favorite grandmother's house, and it was just so comforting. Same thing with my grandmom's house. Like, it was very comforting being there, and I enjoyed everything about it. After that, that's when I told my aunt about the sexual abuse, and she put me into counseling. She actually reported it to the police, and I was put into a room. And well, good morning. It's technically morning, though it's midnight. I was put into a room and everything. The detectives, they wanted me to answer some questions, and I answered the questions, and my aunt wasn't in the room with me. they asked if I wanted to press charges, and I think being 7, I was afraid of what will happen, so I told him no. Like, I couldn't fathom the idea of going through what I saw on Law and Order, so I was just like, no, like, that's not what I want to go through, and it's already nerve-wracking being here as it is. And so I did counseling, and then we had this nice lady. If you guys if you guys know me, you probably know who Miss Sepulveda is. Miss Sepulveda was my case manager, and we used to see her a lot, and she would take us to places, me and my sister. She was so amazing, and it wasn't until she asked me the one time, she was like that, she would ask me like questions about my aunt and like what would she do. Like, there was one time she asked me like, does my aunt ever hit me? And at that time we were kids, she would just, of course we would get our asses beat. I mean, I was bad. And then she would ask us like, you know, how did we feel and what we were going through, and you know, how did we feel about the situation. And it wasn't until then that I realized that I might not ever see my mother again. That was the part that didn't really hit me until then. I mean, in the meantime, my mom was writing me and my sister letters. We would get letters from her. We would get like little gifts and cards and stuff like that. But I never seen her. Like, after that incident, I never seen her after she dropped us off at that building. And so that's when she kind of like broke it down to me, and my sister, that that we were kind of like in foster care, that she was involved with children and youth protective services. And that's when I was like, kind of like, what? And I mean, I was still young, so I didn't really comprehend it or anything like that. And then I want to say about 3rd or 4th grade, she came and asked me and my sister how, like, would we like to change our names, and I was just confused about that. I told her that I wanted my name to be Brittany, because I thought that's what she meant. Now, how would I like my name? If I would like my name to be changed, I figured she meant that I want to change my name from Victoria to something else. So yeah, I told her I wanted my name to be Brittany. And so she was like, no, how would you feel about your last name being different? And I didn't understand what that meant. And I told her, what did she mean? And she was like, how would you feel if you had your aunt's last name? And mind you, my aunt and my mom had the same last name. So to me, it didn't really mean anything different to me. So to me, I felt like, okay, if I have my aunt's last name, it will just mean that I'll have my mom's last name too. So to her, I said, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't matter. And so I remember about not even a couple months after that, we went to a court. I believe it was a court, I'm not 100% sure, but we went to court. And then after, I guess, everything was said and done, the one lady, she told my aunt, she said, you know, now they're officially yours. And from then on, me and my sister stayed with my aunt. I didn't see my mom again until I was about 12. And when she came to see me, she still looked the same. And I wasn't as like upset about it. From what I can remember, I wasn't upset about seeing her after so long, because like I said, we would get letters and we would get cards and stuff like that. And I would talk to her on the phone as much as I could. So it wasn't like she wasn't in my life. She wasn't a part of my life. And we would write letters to my mom and we would talk to her and stuff. So it wasn't like I didn't have somewhat of a relationship with my mother. But even after seeing my mother at 12, my mom, she was honest with me, and so was my aunt. My aunt was honest with me about why we weren't with my mom. She told us, my mom is sick. She needs help. She needed help, and she needed to get to stay at a hospital. And when my mom was released from the hospital, she was honest with me, and she told me that she was at a mental hospital because after my dad died, she struggled to maintain and deal with his death, and she was trying so hard to take care of me and my sister and my brother. My brother didn't live with us, and I'm not going to really share his story because it's not my story to tell, but my brother didn't really live with us. It was just mostly me and my sister. And so she was telling us the truth. My mom said she struggled with using drugs and drinking, and she went to a hospital to help her get her life together and everything, and that's why she wasn't in our lives. I stayed with my aunt. I lived with my aunt all the way up until I was 15. I stayed with my aunt that long because I think legally my mom knew that she couldn't have me and my sister, but also for her own mental health and physically and mentally and emotionally, she knew she couldn't provide for me and my sister. And so she didn't really try and fight for us. And not only that, legally by law, technically, she didn't have any custody of us. She lost custody of us, and my aunt was legally our guardian and my mom. And so it wasn't until I was about 15 that I actually moved in with my mom, and me and her, we lived together for a while. Me and my mom struggled for a while to try and build a relationship. Even now to this day, I struggle. We don't have a solid relationship, and it's not anything on her fault. I don't blame her for that. And I mean, it's not like she doesn't want to be in my life. I think she feels like I blame her for a lot of the things that's going on and why I am where I am in my life, and I don't. And she also probably thinks that I don't want to be bothered with her because of the choices that she's made, or because of the fact that her drug addiction or her mental illness. And I don't. I used to. I will admit, I used to be that type of person. I used to feel resentment and be angry with her about it. But over the years, we've talked about it, and I've gotten her side of the story and understood where she came from and understood her reasonings and why she is who she is. And I can't fault her for it. I really can't. I understand a lot more than she thinks. For me, I feel like I have to not just protect my energy, but also have to protect the 5 kids that I have. And I'm not saying that she's a negative person. I'm not saying that she's a toxic person or anything like that, because my mom's a really beautiful person on the inside. It's just that she struggles on how to deal with what she went through, and I couldn't imagine losing my father the way she did, because if I put myself in her shoes and imagine myself losing Leon, I couldn't do it. I probably would have experienced or made the choices or went through the same thing that she probably went through. And yeah, I couldn't imagine being in her place. So to me, I feel like she's a really strong woman, on the inside. Um, my mom still struggles with drug addiction, and she still struggles with alcoholism. So for my own personal peace and for my kids' health and their mental health and emotional health, I feel like I should have not like so much not bother or like disown her in a sense, or anybody in my family. I just feel like I have to love them from a distance, if that makes sense. And I'm not, like I mentioned in my other video, I'm not angry about anything that happened when I was a kid, or any of the choices that she's done. There's a couple times that she has done things and said things, like, and I've already forgiven and let it go. I have forgiven and allowed her back into my life for a lot of the things that she's done and said to me. And I think the last conversation that we had before I stopped talking to her helped me more than she realized. I mean, a lot of things that she said was hurtful, and but it really helped me understand that the relationship that she wants and the relationship that I want are not the same thing. And it also helps me understand that I can't force that upon her, and I can't be the daughter or be that child that I was, that she wants me to be, and I can't force her to be the mother and the person, the grandparent that I want her to be in my kid's life. And I let go of that expectation, and I let go of the hope, I guess you can say, of having that relationship. I guess that's just for me. I can't speak for my sister, and I can't speak for my brother. They were all grown now, and I can't say that I would never have a relationship with her or never talk to her again, because who knows what will happen in the future. It's a possibility, it might happen, but then there's also a possibility that it could never happen. But one thing I've learned since I moved to Maryland, and there was like I don't know, there was one video that I was watching, I don't remember if it was Oprah or another motivational speaker, and she said that sometimes you have to drop people off where they want to be. We carry so much weight on our shoulders to try and carry people with us to where we're trying to go, and we don't realize they're holding us back. And she said sometimes you just have to drop people off and come back for them, and then there's times where you can't even go back for them, and you just have to leave them where they are. And when she said that, like when I heard that, I was just like, wow, really? And that's really the main reason why I stopped talking to my family. It has nothing to do with like what was done or wasn't done. It's really not about that. It's not really about, them being toxic or them being negative. Where I'm trying to be at, or where I'm trying to go with my life, they don't see that. They don't see they don't see the vision that I have for myself and for my family. And what they want me to do with my life is not in alignment with what I want. And I'm learning now that that everything that's happening is for a reason. Me not getting a job or me not able to obtain employment is for a reason, and that's because I asked for it, to be honest. Because of the fact that I practice the law of attraction, I put my emotions and my thoughts into my business, and the universe is pretty much answering me and telling me that, this is what you wanted, and you don't want really to work for anybody, so therefore I'm not going to give you those opportunities. And so that's why, in a sense, I mentioned in the last video that I'm not kind of upset about it, because I pretty much put myself here. And that's what I mean about being accountable for myself and owning myself for the choices that I make, because I can't be upset about it, and I can't dwell on a situation that I asked for. So yeah, like that's the story of me being adopted, and a little bit about why I am the way I am and why I don't really talk to my family. I know a lot of people probably think that like I don't talk to my family because of how they might perceive who I am or anything like that, but really it's because of that video that I watched, that sometimes you do have to drop people off and go back for them, and then there's times where you just have to leave them where they are. And I do love my family and I do love my mom, but sometimes it's important to love people from a distance to protect yourself and protect your energy. And I never understood what that meant until now. Well, not now, but like until now, at this age and at this point in my life, I never understood what that meant, where you love somebody from a distance. And now I kind of get it. I don't hate them. I don't resent none of them. I don't resent anything. I don't regret any of my choices. I don't regret like having the childhood that I had. I believe that everything happens for a reason. I believe that I'm here in Pennsylvania for a reason, and I'm supposed to be here. I also believe that I was supposed to go to Maryland, and I was supposed to experience what I experienced so that I can be a better person and do better and learn from it and grow from it and evolve from it. But I know some people are probably like, what? But yeah, I'm actually adopted legally on my birth certificate. It does not show my birth mother, my real mother, or my father. And in some of my pictures, as a child, you might see pictures of my aunt and uncle. Sometimes I reference them as my dad and my mom, because it's a lot easier than having to explain who people are. It's just easier that way. And in all reality, they were my parents. They raised me and they gave me the home training that I needed. They taught me a lot of things about life, and there was a lot of things that they gave me that I've carried on to my own kids, and there's a lot of things that I learned from them on what not to do and who not to be. So in a sense, that's why I'm not angry or resentful or anything like that, because I feel like the people that were in my life, they were there for a reason, and regardless of anything that happened, I've learned a lot, and they made me who I am today, and I appreciate it, regardless of where I am in my life right now and the relationship that we have or don't have. So if you guys want to hear more story times, because I have a lot more, it's a lot easier to do story times like this when the kids are asleep and nobody's around. I have it's a lot more easier for me to collect my thoughts, because when I'm like around the kids, it's so much harder to talk. And usually 9 out of 10, I'm trying to like rush through it, because I don't want Leon to like have to deal with the kids. And then so my thoughts are usually way ahead than what I'm talking, or no, my mouth is ahead of what I'm talking. And so that's usually why it may seem like I don't make sense and why sometimes I feel like I'm rambling, or to you guys I might seem like I'm rambling and all over the place, because that's just how my head is. But yeah, if you guys want to hear more story times, I have a couple more story times that probably be like, damn girl, you've been through some and I have. And a lot of the things that I've been through have taught me a lot of lessons, and I have learned many things. It took me a while, and I've experienced things over and over again before I really got it, but yeah. Like this video if you guys want to see more and see more story times. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're adopted, let me know in the comment section, or if you lost a parent, let me know. It's something that I have learned to deal with over the years. I have tons of memories of my dad, so yeah, and I have story times of those. Yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next video, and bye.